This is Arezda, a game I've worked on since mid-2020, but I've improved a lot over the past 5 years. So, before we finally enter the next stage of development, let's have a look back and see how far my dream game has come. Hey, bet you didn't expect to see me again so soon, huh? Well, it's been just over a year since my first major hit. I'm gonna be honest, I haven't actually been working on next devlogs content. I've mainly been going through and touching up all my main gripes with the current state of the game, just to actually bring it up to a condition I'm more happy with. Additionally, I realise now, as I said in the beginning, that this game is moving to a new phase in development, and I need your help, and your advice, so yeah, stick around to the end, I'll talk more about it then. By the way, if you're new here, please don't watch any of my old videos from before 2024, they suck huge ass. I'm probably just gonna unlist them and keep them in their own separate playlist at this point, they genuinely suck. Okay, thank you. In any case, I think the thing that I'm most proud of with the current version of Arezda is how I've changed my approach to game development. Put simply, I'm now at the stage where I'm focusing more on bringing the game out of the minimum viable product phase and actually getting it to a semi-releasable version, which is actually a stage I've never reached before. This improvement has been a lesson which I learned both myself, and I also learned from following a far more successful individual than I, Martin from Wintergarten. Any of you who have been following him avidly over the past few years, you know what I'm going to start talking about. Their most famous creation is the Marble Machine, an artwork, and also an example of the beauty of non-live demos. As he recalled, it took over a week of recording to get the final take due to how rough the machine was. And so, to rectify these issues, Marble Machine X was created. Martin made a brilliant video on his failures with MMX, which you should watch after you finish here. Jeez, honey, I'm a growing channel. I need all the watch time I can get, honey. Have some patience. But there he perfectly summarizes many of the issues I had encountered during Arezda's development process before the current version. In any case, then the Unity debacle of September 2023 gave me the perfect opportunity to jump ship and start fresh, as I have documented already through my previous devlogs. So, how have I improved since I started? What have I done to make my video game better over the course of development? Right, let's make this quick, shall we? There have been 6 versions of Arezda. I don't have any footage of versions 1 and 2, but version 1 sort of resembled this. I remember version 2 was sort of like this. The cylinder was a player's ship. Fun fact, the music you're listening to is an older version of Space Track B, which I made for this version's title screen. Version 3, as I recall it, was the first version to be like Modern Arezda, although with very different planets and overall was way worse. I only have one video on that, which I have since privated for obvious reasons. I was like 12 or something, I don't know. Anyway, here's the only bit of footage you'll ever get of that. And then the next devlog, number 2, which was really weird, I think I was on track or something, I don't know. But anyways, that jumped straight past version 4 and went to version 5 instead, where the journey truly began. And then yada yada yada, version 6 is the modern one. Okay, now you're up to speed. Okay, so focus was a huge issue for me in version 5, and I'm gonna be honest, it's starting to become a bit more of an issue now in the current version, since I've gotten past the bringing it up to speed with the previous version phase. But in version 5, I had basically no sense of direction. With a game as big as Arasda, a clear concept for where to go is absolutely crucial. And that's something I lacked entirely with the previous version. A good example of this is the contract system. In the previous version, although you couldn't actually do any of them, I don't actually think they were really implemented. I mean, they might have been, but I wouldn't remember. I had two ways of doing contracts. Actual contracts, like they are in Modern Arasda, and quests. Contracts were a single phase event, whereas quests were multi-phase. And also didn't work. And were entirely separate from contracts, even though they basically served the same purpose. The thing is, I already knew that was a bad idea even when making the system. But I still did it anyway. Why? I don't really know. But in the end, I never really used the quest system. And that sort of leads me to my next point. With the previous version, when I implemented a feature, I'd only implement it just enough to get it working in some form. I mean, heck, sometimes I didn't even implement it in a way where you'd actually be able to access it in-game. With the latest version, unless it is a very experimental thing, I have always been very careful to make sure everything I make for Arasda can actually be found in-game. Even when I do work on pretty late game stuff, which I have actually done some of, by the way, it is still perfectly accessible, albeit, several thousand light years from the core world. And even better, it actually works as intended. No spoilers though. In any case, I have tried my best to avoid half implementations, at the very least in terms of the programming side of things. Certainly, I haven't been able to do stuff like cutscenes, news stories, Uninet sites, actually making the TVs work properly. Okay, so there are a few minor features which are still a little half-baked. But, I know they are, and in any case, they're not really that important. And finally, I think the most important thing I've done with the current version of Arasda over all previous versions. With Modern Arasda, I've tried to create a more grounded world, with some rough rules about what sorts of technology exists within Arasda's universe. One of the main things is that the computers are all noticeably lower tech than what we have now, more so resembling, while CFAX has been a major inspiration of mine for Uninet, but in general mostly just 80s computers. This is due to the silicon deficit which I have previously discussed in my lore video. Another thing I've omitted, because I think they're personally overused, and became way too commonplace in mid-2010s sci-fi, especially when Star Trek started using them, even though they have way better technologies in the holodeck. Come on, Paramount, did you really seriously never watch a single episode of The Next Generation? Is the stereotypical sci-fi holograms. Not only are they very overused, I just don't really think they fit with the general vibe of Arasda. One more example of how I've done this grounding is with the larger ships in-game. With the smaller ships, you don't really have to obey the laws of physics, but the Z-Drive technology which allows this deviance doesn't really scale up to larger ships like the Perius or Dragonfly, hence why they're launched on rockets and have to enter an actual orbit. In any case, I've tried to use the limitations of Arasda's technologies to make a more grounded game, and to make everything feel like more part of the same world. Personally, I think it's worked quite well. So yeah, I've really improved quite a lot over the course of Arasda's development, haven't I? I mean, you'd hope so, given the number of times I've completely started over. This project has been a lot of work, and I've really tried to make something good here. But this is the part where I need to start moving to a new phase. At this stage, I have laid the groundwork. I have brought it to a state that makes it relatively trivial to add new features, and I see a path forward that now doesn't really focus on the coding side of things so much. But there's still some way to go until then. I think my main focus as part of the next major devlog will be improving enemy AI, making it better at prediction, and hopefully making it capable against even human pilots. I also think that working on character movement and control as a precursor to ground combat would be a very important part. And this is something which I'm gonna be honest, I'm not very good at, and it's gonna take some work to make it good. One thing I've actually ended up just now adding is physically based rotation, rather than using the interpolation which I've done before. Actually, here's a test of the Dragonfly's boosters being taught while using the PID based rotation control. But, as I said in the beginning, I need your help. As you can probably tell by the likely very low number of views on this video, I am a very small channel, and I really want to grow. I guess what I want you to do is share this channel with anyone you think would be interested. And obviously, like and subscribe if you haven't already. Jeez, you really watched all the way to the end of the video without liking or subscribing? Wow. Anyways, yeah, I'd really appreciate if you could spread the word about this little project of mine. Beyond that, I guess I'd just like your advice on what you would like to see out of a space exploration game like Erasda. What do you want? Let me know in the comments under the video. I'm not gonna say the line. It's gonna be quite a journey to get to the end of development with this project. But I do see a future where my dream of a fully open world, fully explorable space exploration game with countless races and cultures and secrets to discover and wars to fight in this persistent universe. I see a future where that is realized. And I think, given how much I've improved over the past 5 years, as you have seen, I think I've got a pretty good shot, I'll catch you next time. Well, maybe, if it lets us.